Al Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Nedarim Daf Amud Aleph 58A1. You guys remember we were talking about the concept of the Varshi Yeshlo Matinim or the Varshi Yeshlo Matinim. The Varshi Yeshlo Matinim means the Varshi Yeshlo Matinim means that if it's going to come and it's going to have a heter later on, we could not annul it right now. Okay, that's called the Varshi Yeshlo Matinim. So we said, called the Varshi Yeshlo Matinim. Kegon Tevel, for example, Tevel, untithed produce. That obviously you could give to Trumot Masro. That's how you fix it. Uma'aser Sheni. Obviously you could just take off, you could do the Pidyon, you could redeem it. Hekdesh also you could redeem. Remember, Hekdesh is that it's consecrated to the Bet HaMikdash. Vechadash, you know what Chadash is? Yeah? Chadash, Kema Chadash, exactly, that it's going to be planted and it's going to be harvested and everything after the Pesach. So therefore what happens is that it's going to be considered Chadash until the next Pesach. So until the next Pesach, we have problems of Chadash. And then after Pesach, then we're fine until usually August time. August, September, that's when it starts the balagan around here. Okay? Fine. So it says V'chadash. Lo natru b'ayin chachamim shiur. The rabbis did not give them a shiur. V'chol davar she'en lo matinim. Right? Why? Because basically, since all these things have matinim, there's no bitul. You cannot annul it. So since you cannot annul it, there's nothing what to do. V'chol davar she'en lo matinim. But something that does not have matinim. For example, truma. Truma, there's no way of doing anything. You cannot redeem truma. You cannot do anything with truma. Truma, and if anything, it became tameh, you have to burn it. But there's no substitute for truma. Or truma maaser. Also, Truma Masechet that goes to the Kohen, Chala, Orla, Kila Kerem, all these things. They did give them a shiur for bitul, because if they come and they do get mixed up, so therefore it's not going to be osir the entire Torah, it's going to be batel according to the amounts, obviously. Why? Because it's not Varshi Yeshlo Matirim. So here it says, Trumat Maaser Chala mitpatlim be100 chalakim shel heter. Yeah, everyone heard? Trumat Maaser. What is Trumat Maaser? No. Maaser mina Maaser. Very good. The Levit to the Kohen. Chazak Uru. Very good. So the Levit to the Kohen. That's Trumat Maaser. Chala goes to the Kohen. These are going to be Mvatlim be100 chalakim shel heter. Orla kilei kerem are be200 chalakim shel heter. Okay? So everyone just remember that. One more time. Orla and kilei kerem 200. Trumat Maaser and Chala is 100. Okay, that's what you need, like the 101 or the 201. Okay, Amrulo, they told him, Chachamim told Rabbi Shimon, Va'alo shvi'it el matirim. Wow, what about Shemitah? Shemitah, there's no matirim. Why? Wait until the next year. Right, that's what he's saying. Perot shvi'it en ofen lafki, you can't take it away from the Isur. Okay, so he comes and he says, why? Because they're going to be noheg even after the next year. So they didn't get a shiur. Meaning that if right now you just told me a general rule that davar she'en lo matirim, there has a shiur for bitul, this is davar she'en lo matirim. Meaning once something was planted on Shemitah, it's Shemitah. There's nothing what to do. So now what does it help now? You're going to wait 1 year or another year. It's still Shemitah produce. If it's Shemitah produce, you have a problem. So therefore he comes and he says, so why do they say that they don't get shiur? So says the Gemara, but we learned in a Mishnah, Hashvi'it oseret kol shehu b'mina. The Shvi'it is going to be osir in any amount in the same species. Okay, which means that when you have perot Shvi'it get mixed up with other perot from the same species, it's going to be osir, right? B'chol shu, with any amount. So Amar lahem, yeah? Amar lahem. He comes and he says, I think it's better you're here. Yeah, Amar lahen. He comes and he says to them, Afani lo amarti ela lebiur. I hold that this hoda'ah, that perot shvi'it are going to be osrim b'minam b'chol shu, is only to do with the chiyuv to eat the perot shvi'it before the zman of biur. Right? What does that mean? We need biur levaer otam until a certain time. Right? Which means that when these fruits are going to be kalim min hasadeh, when they're finished in the field, so you're not allowed to come and leave them in your property. You have to take them out of the field. Meaning, as long as there's fruits in the field, you could leave some in your house that you could eat from, or your animals could eat from. But the second that they're already finished in the field, you have to take them out of your house. You're not allowed to leave them in your house anymore. You have to make sure that everyone's allowed to take it, just like you. Okay? Exactly. We learned this. Yeah? So he says, Aval la'achila. But he says, what about for achila? What does that mean for achila? Noten tam. Really, be'emet, ba'achila, it's noten tam. What is noten tam? 60, right? What do we say is batel b'shishim? Batel b'shishim was after if it doesn't have a 60th anymore, it doesn't have the taste. You understand? Fine. So says the Gemara, the dilma hanami, the chumra shani. Over here, also, we're going le chumra, not le kula. Remember, we were all talking about the entire concept about going le kula. Here, this is a chumra. Meaning here, we're going le chumra, right? That's what we're saying over here. That really be'emet ikar adin is that the gidulin which are coming on the extra on the ikar are not mevatlim otam. But here, since we're going to come and we're going to say a chumra, right? That these are going to be, everything's going to be asur. So therefore, that's the reason why over here it's going to be asur. But not because be'emet l'kula, you can't go to kula. Only l'chumra. Because we wanted to, again, we were talking about going l'kula, that if you came and you took something of isur, you planted it, and then you have that the majority was grown, and that's going to be majority over the ikar, over the main principle, we said it should be batel. But that's l'kula. This is l'chumra. So that's what we're saying. L'chumra, we do say that. But whoever told you that we go there l'kula. Ela min hada pashta. But rather, we're going to come and we're going to be poshetet zeh from here. Where are we going to be poshetet zeh? We're going to come and try to make it simple from this Mishnah. The Tanamas we learned on Mishnah and Shavit. Betzalim sheyadu aleim geshamim v'tzamchu. Imagine right now you have batzal. Yeah, batzal of the 6th year. Okay, and then batzal is onions. Then what happened is that it starts raining on the 7th year, and tzamchu. All of a sudden you have leaves coming out of the batzal. Imayu alin shelahen shchorim. If their leaves were darkened, right? Dark, that's what it means shchorim over here. Asurin, it's going to be asur. What does that mean? That if they have kiddushat shvi'it, it's going to be asur. Horiku, he says right now, right? He comes and he says, horiku. He says, what is horiku exactly? Horiku alim, yeah, he says, Chayamarem yarok. Yeah, that they were going to be yarok bahir. Yarok bahir means, what is yarok bahir? Yeah? Yeah, he says, horiku alim. Thank you. Berachot always. Yeah, he comes and he says this. If they were greenish, okay, which means it's yarok bahir, so then it's going to be mutarim. What does it mean mutarim? Mutarim means it's going to be permitted. Rabbi Hananiah ben Atignos Omer, Rabbi Hananiah ben Atignos comes and he says, Im yecholin litalesh be'alin shelahem. If the chibur, right, is so strong, meaning the connection is so strong between the alim and the betzalim, until then when you're going to pull it, right, you're going to be oker the betzalim from the ground, meaning you're pulling the leaf. Usually the batzal is heavier than the leaf, so if you're going to pull it, right, it's going to pluck off. Here, you're pulling it. It's got such a strong chibur that you're pulling it out. Asurim. Uknegdan, right, that means it does have kiddushat shevit. Right? Why? Because since it's going to be so strong, it's getting inikah from the ground, and therefore it's going to be a problem. But if it's not so strong, so then it's going to be okay. However, the bitzalim of Shavi'it, that all of a sudden it started raining, and now it comes and it started getting leaves on the 8th year. If it's going to be so strong, they don't have kiddushat Shavi'it. Because this is a siman that the ikari nikatan gets from the ground. So therefore, the fact that they, right now, hamiyut that they have the koach of the ikar is batel in the robe that's coming from the karka. One more time, we had that it was a 6th year, then raining on the 7th year, and then we're coming and saying it has kiddushat shvi, or the opposite, 7th year, raining, getting leaves, and now you're plucking it out on the 8th year, right? It's raining on the 8th year. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Right, raining on the 8th year. Now it gets leaves, and now you're plucking it out. So now we're saying that it doesn't have kiddushat shvi. So says the Gemara, are you going to tell me that gidulei heter, meaning the fact that it grew beheter, that's going to annul the isu? So it says, yes, because once, yes, on the 8th year. So says the Gemara, v'dilma b'mduchanim. Maybe we're talking about bitzalim that were already pressed, that were already crushed before it started raining, and then it started coming up, right? Alim chadashim, new leaves. Okay, so we're going to say that only bitzalim that like these are not considered enough in order to do something that's going to come out of it is going to get this deen. But gidulin which are coming out of mamash shlemim, they go after the ikar and that's it. So says the Gemara. Everyone understood what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying, maybe when are we going to come and we're going to say that now you could come and start saying whether you go after the ikar and the, or not the ikar, that which grew, That's only if it's going to be crushed and now something is going to, but if it's going to be full, complete, and now something comes out of it, for sure we go after the ikar. That's what we're trying to say. For sure we go after the roots, the main thing. We're not going to go after something that grew afterwards. So says Imra, min hada the Tanya, but from this which learned in a Braita. Nunchet Amud Bet 58b. Hamnakesh imakuti bachasiyot. Right? We're talking about now a Poel Yisrael that he's doing nikush. Nikush is basically he's cutting down the gidulim which are extra. He's like pruning. I think that's what they say in English. Pruning. Yeah, pruning. Okay? So they do that in order that it should grow, right? The other things should grow properly. You understand? That means if you have too much abundance, right? So then it's not going to grow properly because each one is on each other. So what do? You come and you start removing certain extra ones, and now it gives it more room to grow. And then those that are going to grow much better. That's called pruning. So that you do many times with the extra of whether it's branches or things like that, or anything. So it says Yamnakesh imakuti b'chasiyot. So you're doing this with a goy, right, with a kuti, and you're doing it with certain types of grains, of like zraim, of seeds. Ochel mehen achilat arai. You're allowed to come and you're allowed to eat with it achilat arai, even without taking off trumot u'masrot. Okay. He comes and he says ume'asiran vadai. Yeah, what does that mean? Ume'asiran vadai. What does that mean? Ume'asiran vadai. He comes and he says, if you're going to come and you're going to take these chasiyot from the kuti, right, you have to take off maaser b'torat vadai, right? Not only torat safek. Why? Because we're not going to suspect that maybe the kuti already took off trumot u'masrot. It means mamash you have to take off trumot u'masrot. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, if right now the Bala Sadeh is something the owner of the field is going to be suspected on Shavit, that means he's going to be doing business on Shemitah. Lemotzei Shavit, it's going to be mutar. Lemotzei Shavit, it's going to be mutar, right? That means it's mutar because of the Yisur Shavit. That means even though these alim actually did sprout forth from the Ikar, right? We're going to say that since it's going to be me'urav, it's going to be permitted. So the Gemara is going to say, same question that we keep on saying. From this Braita, you see from here that even though it grew on Shavit, and on Shavit is everything Asur, everything's Asur. But all of a sudden, it grew afterwards. So now you're going to tell me now that which grows afterwards is going to be Batel the Yisur? So you see from here, it's a Braita Mefurash. This Braita is telling you that yes, that it's going to come and it's going to be Batel the Yisur. Answers the Gemara, no. The Dilma Bedavar, what? No, because we keep on trying to bring a proof from it, yes or no. So here we just brought down a proof from a Braita that it does, that the Gidulim are going to be Batel the Yisur. So we're going to disprove it again. So the way that we disprove it again is the Dilma Bedavar Shezaro Kaleh. Here maybe we're talking about that it's going to be Zaro Kaleh, which means that because of this, the Braita is going to permit it, right? Because basically there's nothing from the Ikar anymore. The original gets destroyed. It's like, certain types of fruits, once it grows, that's it. You have to plant a new tree. You cannot use the same tree to recycle again. That's many times, by the way, the nafkamina between ha'etz and adama, right? To do with when you make a bracha, right, on ha'etz or adama, okay? Right, banana, all these things, okay? So he says, says the Gemara, Tanya, we learned to the Braita, elu in chasayot kigon aluf, hashum, betzalim. What exactly are chasayot? Because we just said, how do we start off? We said that if you're pruning with the chasayot, I told you the type of seeds. Which type of seeds? Sure. Here it calls it luf. Some people say it's like a type of an onion. What does it say in English? Onion family. Onion family. It doesn't say what it is. It's from the onion family. Okay.
Some say that it's a type of bean in Israel.
A beans. Interesting.
Others maintain that it's a type of bean.
Yeah. Some people here. I see it here.
There's not big control.
I see it here in the footnote. Yeah. Vashum v'betzalim, or onions and garlic. So you see from here, all these things, zar'am are not kaleh. So therefore, that means they stay all the time. So what are you talking about? Meaning you wanted to disprove me by saying, listen, we're talking about that the original tree doesn't stay behind. So the original tree doesn't stay behind. That's why whatever's godel, whatever grows, is going to be vatel the yisur. It's going to come and vatel the ikar, the main thing. Why? Because the main thing it disappears afterwards. Here all of a sudden, here we're saying, no, these three things, they stay all the time. So what are you talking about then? So says the Gemara, the same thing that we disproved before. Maybe we're talking about that it was chopped out. Batzal aroch. Like a green onion, I think it's called. Green onion, no? Green onion.
Shalom.
They're called green onion, you know, in English? You know English. Yeah, but green onions.
Big white ball, yeah.
Not big white ball, but it's all like one long
That's
onion.
chips.
That's chips. No, we said that we were talking about somebody that's chashud al shvit. So the fact that we're talking about somebody that he's suspected for doing business on Shemitah, so therefore we're not going to say that it's talking about that it was already nidoch, it was already crushed. Because if it was already crushed, how could that be? You already have to separate the Tumot and Masrot and do all these things from beforehand. So says the Gemara, V'dilma b'ta'arovet. Maybe we're talking about that it was mixed in a mixture. It's a ta'arovet. Yeah, are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's mixed with a mixture with a ta'arovet. So says the Gemara, I'm nakesh ktani. You just said you're being minakesh. Remember, minakesh means you're pruning. Pruning means everything's still in the field. There's no ta'arovet. Everything's on the field and you're pruning it. So you're taking away one here, so you could grow much better. You understand? So that's just the way that it is. So it says the Gemara, so why don't we just say that this is actually a good refutation against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan? Because they wanted to say that en bekoach hagidulin, right? Lehalot et ha'isur le'eter, right? Here it's mefurash. You could. That means whatever grows has the strength to be mivatel the isur, and that's going against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan. Okay, everyone's with me or not? One more time. We had Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan. Both of them came and they said that you cannot be mivatel the isur because of the heter which is growing. Those were the two different people that said that. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
That was on, right? Batzal. He says over here, Rabbi Yochanan. We said it was only lechumra, but at the beginning, when they said that it's not going to be mvatel, on Nun Zayin Mubet 57b, we came and we said, right, that it cannot be mvatel. So we went and we said they came in front of Rabbi Yami, he didn't have an answer. They came in Rabbi Chanina B'Torah and Rabbi Yanai, then he says it's mutar. Rabbi Yirmiyah came and he says, right, Rabbi Zreika, Shavik more mitren. Why Shavik more mitren? Says there's Rabbi Yochanan, right? And then there's Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Yochanan said, right, on Nun Zayin Mubet, right after the Gemara, towards the bottom of the page. It said over there, Rabbi Yochanan says, Yalda shesimcha bizkena, uba perot afa pi sheosifa matayim asur. Rabbi Yochanan says, when you have a young sapling, a young tree, okay, and then you had extra fruits that starts growing onto it, even though it added on another 200 onto it, because remember, to do with Orla and Kila Kerem, it's 200, it's not 100, it's 200. It's still going to be Asur. The next Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel Menachemini says, Rabbi Yonatan. So you have Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan. Batzal shenitao bekerem. When you come and you planted batzal in a vineyard, and then what happened was it started growing, right? V'ne'ekara kerem. Then you took it away. Asur is still going to be Asur. So you have these two rabbis telling you that even though things grew more of the heter than the isur, it's still going to be asur. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan. So says the Gemara by Asnun Chet Amud Bet. Why don't we just say that this is a tiyufta against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonatan? That you see from this braita that you do have that when you're going to have more of the heter growing in the isur, it's going to be batel. And so the Gemara Amar Rabbi Yitzhak says Rabbi Yitzhak, yeah. He says, Shanya Shvi'it Hoi Visura Lidei Karka. It's different Shvi'it from other Isurim, because since it's going to be the Isur through the ground, what does that mean? The Shvi'it is anything which is going to be growing from the ground, which means Gidulo is Mina Aretz from the Shana Shvi'it, Betelata Nami Lidei Karka. So too, the Bitul is also going to be through the Karka. So therefore, we're going to say only by Shavi'it do we say that Gidulin, which are going to come out on the 8th year from the Ikar, are going to come and take it out from the Yisur. But in every other type of Yisurim, for example, Orla and Kilaim, right? We don't say that. That means when do we, Shavi'it, where's the Yisur? In the ground. Orla, where's the Yisur? In the tree, according to ears. Right? Kila Kerem, where's the Yisur? In the vineyards, when it's going to be Kilaim, when it's going to be mixed with other things. So he comes and he says, when do I say that when it's going to come only by Shavi'it, that the Yisur was in the ground, so the Heter could also come from the ground and be Mbatelet the Yisur. And therefore, if it's going to grow, and you're going to have more of the Heter than the Yisur, I'm going to say that it's going to annul right? Everything that we mentioned before. It's going to annul the ikar. That's to do with b'telata lidei karka. But that only helps by shvi'it, but not by anything else. It's not going to help by kilei kerem, or it's not going to help by, how do you call this? By kilei kerem or by the orla. Okay? So ask the Gemara on this, hare ma'aser, what about ma'aser? The isuro alidei karka, that the isur is going to be in the karka, meaning ma'aser comes from the ground. Right? Pirot haaretz. That's where you take off the ma'aser. Right? But we don't say that it's going to be batel alidei karka. The Tanya was learned in a Braita. Litra ma'aser tevel. When a person has a litra, remember litra is a midah of a mishkal. It sounds very similar to the liter. Maybe it even comes from the same type of a, whatever it is, whether it's Latin or whatever it is. Huh? Yeah, come on, libra also. Yeah, so he says litra ma'aser tevel. When a person has ma'aser rishon that you didn't take off, trumat ma'aser. Remember, ma'aser rishon goes to the Lewi. Ma'aser rishon. Ma'aser rishon. Ma'aser sheni goes to
to Israel.
Maaser Sheni is the Israel. It was a trick question. Maaser Sheni, you said Ani with an Aleph, not Ani with an Ain. Okay. Maaser Sheni is I myself am able to eat it, right, in Yerushalayim, right? And if I'm not going to eat the same fruits and I redeem it, I add a fifth and I take it to Yerushalayim and I have my barbecue over there. Okay, that's going to be Maaser Sheni. Trumat Maaser is given to the Kohen, Levi to the Kohen. Truma Gdola goes to the Kohen. That's the first thing that comes off. So the first thing that comes off is Truma Gdola. After, and that's all the time. After Truma Gdola, it's Maaser Rishon. Maaser Rishon is every year. After that, it's going to be Trumat Maaser is every year also. The Mina Maaser. The Levi takes 10% of his percent and gives it to the Kohen. And your Maaser Sheni. Maaser Sheni is in years 1, 2, 4, 5. Chazak Baruch. Maaser Ani is in years 3, 6. Chazak Baruch. What's in year 7? Shvita. Yeah, nothing. Very good. Says the Gemara, Hare Maaser, di Isuro alidei karka, en betelo alidei karka. Maaser, the Isu comes from the ground, but you take off Maaser from the ground. But it's not going to be batel from the ground. So he comes and he says, the Tanya was learned to the right, litra Maaser, shezira'a bekarka, you planted it in the ground in the 6th year, vishpicha, and then it came up in the 7th year. It's going to be like the 10 litrin, which is going to be what? Which is going to be chayav maaser. Meaning you have to take off truma maaser, because since the first litra rishona, which was maaser tevel, was going to be chayav, even though you added on another 9 later on, it's still going to be chayav. Uva shvi'it, but on the other hand, to do a shvi'it, it has kiddushat shvi'it because of the 9. So it comes out, you had 1 liter of the batzal, right? It's in the ground. Even though it came up another 9, right? You're still chayav maaser. Remember, during the year Shemitah, you're not chayav in tumot maaser, because you're not allowed to benefit from it. So therefore, it won't benefit. I mean, that you're not allowed to sell it to God. So it's nothing. You understand? Here, all of a sudden, you are chayav maaser, right? That's what you say. You are chayav maaser because of the original one, the 1 litra, but it's called kiddushat shvit because of the 9 litras that came afterwards. Over shvit, it's going to have it. Ve'ota litra maaser alea mimakom acher lefi cheshbon. But that litra, that how do you call this? That the first original one, which says you're going to be chayav in trumat maaser, you're going to separate, right, from another place. The lefi cheshbon, according to the cheshbon, of a 10th of a litra, right? But you cannot separate it from the 10 litras itself, because some of them are going to be patur from trumot masrot, which are going to be the 9 which are growing from gidulei shvi'it, right? And they cannot be taken off trumat maaser, which means like this: you have the original one. That one is still chayav in trumot masrot. The other 9 that grew afterwards grew in shemitah. They're not chayav in trumot masrot, but they're not batel. They're not going to be batel that one. The one is still going to be chayav in trumot masrot. So therefore, you cannot separate that trumot masrot and that one from the other ones, because the other ones are pturim. But mitzat sheni, the other 9 are chayavim in kiddushat shvit. That one is not, right? Because they're already before. So therefore, you have like the 2 different halachot together, and then obviously Bezrat Hashem. We'll try to answer it tomorrow, but we'll continue Bezrat Hashem tomorrow with understanding this. Have a wonderful